Hello everybody to the Fluid Mechanics Lab. Today we're going to be conducting the pump inherit characteristics experiment. The objectives of this experiment is to demonstrate the basic operations and characteristics of centrifugal pumps and to differentiate the flow rate, pressure head, and performance curve of a single pump and two identical pumps that are run in series or parallel. So this is the experimental setup that we're going to use to conduct the experiment. We have two pumps that are controlled using the main switch. Then we have four valves, each to control the flow. We have three pressure gauges. We have a rotameter to measure the flow rate. We have a valve that controls the fluid velocity, and we have a circular tank. Using the experimental setup that we have, we're going to conduct three experiments. First is for a single pump, the second is for two pumps in series, and the third is for two pumps in parallel. The objectives of the first experiment, which is a single pump operation, is to study the characteristics of a single pump operation with variable flow rate. We're going to start by having valve 1 and valve 4 fully opened, while valve 2 and valve 3 closed. So this is valve 4, which is open. This is valve 1, which is open. This is valve 3, so we close it. This is valve 2, which should be closed. Once we have valve 1 and 4 open, while 2 and 3 are closed, we can start the pump. The readings at the pressure gauge 1 and pressure gauge 3 change, as well as the rotameter. We can see the flow rate. We can control the flow rate using the valve at the top, and by changing it, we can see a change in the flow rate. So at 40 liters per minute, we have this following pressure and this pressure, and we can start changing the flow rate to different levels and measure the change in the pressure. So at 80, this is our pressure, and this pressure has changed as well. So we're going to repeat this for all the flow rates that we can. For the second experiment, we're going to conduct pump in series operation. The objective is to study the characteristics of a series pump operation with variable flow rate. For this experiment, we're going to use both pumps, and we're going to have valve 2 and 4 fully closed, while valve 1 and 3 open. So valve 1 remains open, valve 4 is closed, valve 3 is open, while valve 2 stays closed. We will now turn on both pumps. We will see that the pressure 1, pressure 2, and pressure 3 has changed, and we can see the flow rate. We can now adjust the flow rate and then measure the effects of the pressure at 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So we're going to repeat this for different flow rates, and we're going to measure the pressure at each position. Experiment 3 is to conduct the pump in parallel operation. The objective is to study the characteristics of a parallel pump operation with variable flow rate. This experiment will only have valve 3 closed, while valve 1, 2, and 4 are open. So this is valve 1, which is in open position. This is valve 4, which will be in open position. We'll have valve 3 in closed position, and then we'll have valve 2 in open position. We'll now turn on the pumps, and we're going to measure the pressure at each gauge for different flow rates. So the first flow rate we're going to select is 40 liters per minute. We're going to see the pressure difference. And we're going to repeat this for different flow rates. With that, we have concluded the experiment and we have all the data required to conduct the calculations. Thank you for your attention.